Some animals live lives that look almost absurdly difficult. Their days are filled with constant work, danger, and survival. And sometimes it feels like nature designed them for an endless loop of struggle. Take the sand bubbler crab, for example. You could call it the Wall-E of the animal world. These tiny crabs, barely half an inch wide, spend most of their lives doing one very specific thing: making little balls of sand. When a crab leaves its burrow, it immediately starts eating the sand around it. To us, it might look pointless, but to the crab, sand is actually food. Between the grains live tiny microorganisms, plankton, and algae. The crab scoops up mouthfuls of sand, filters out the edible particles, and spits the clean grains back out. The discarded sand forms small round pellets, the sand bubbles that give the crab its name. But sand is not very nutritious. To fill its stomach, the crab needs to eat sand continuously for 4 or 5 hours. Eating the same sand again would waste time and energy. So the crab leaves those little pellets behind as markers of where it has already searched for food. And they work quickly. In a single feeding session, a crab can produce more than 1,000 sand balls. From above, the beach starts to look like a strange piece of sand art. If you look closely, though, you'll notice that every pattern leaves a clear path back to the burrow. That's because these crabs live in constant fear. They rarely move farther than about 3 feet from their home. The area around the burrow becomes a small feeding circle, almost like a self-made prison boundary. Outside of it lies unknown territory where anything could happen. And there are many things that could go wrong. If a bird flies overhead, the crab runs back to its hole. If a larger crab appears, it runs home again. Turtles, snakes, raccoons, and many other animals can easily turn this tiny creature into a meal. Even their own species can be a threat. Larger crabs sometimes throw smaller ones out of their burrows and take over the hole for themselves. But the most terrifying enemy is the tide. When the crabs sense the tide approaching, they quickly return to their burrows and seal the entrance with sand. Rising water brings fish and other marine predators. Any crab caught outside is likely to be eaten. The tide also destroys their careful work. The sand pellets scatter and mix back into the beach. In stronger tides, even the burrows collapse. When the water finally retreats, the crabs emerge again. Most of the time, their homes are gone, so they dig new ones and start the entire process again, eating sand and building new patterns. And when mating season arrives, things become even stranger. A male crab searches for a nearby female and tries to invite her into his burrow. If she hesitates, he simply grabs her and pulls her inside. Then he seals the entrance and mates with her. Afterward, the female carries the fertilized eggs under her abdomen. When the time comes, she releases them into the waves. The ocean carries the tiny larvae away. Most of them will never grow up. They become food for fish and other marine animals. Some may even end up in the sand where other crabs are feeding. Yes, sometimes these crabs accidentally eat their own young. But nature doesn't really care. If a few of the larvae survive, they settle on the beach and begin digging their own burrows in a world that floods twice a day. And the cycle continues. Another creature trapped in a repetitive life is the dung beetle. Despite their strange lifestyle, dung beetles are among the strongest animals on Earth. Most species can pull around 100 times their own body weight. Some species, like the bull dung beetle, can pull over 1,000 times their weight. That would be like a human dragging a blue whale. But what do they use this incredible strength for? Moving dung. There are more than 9,000 species of dung beetles, and most of them depend entirely on animal waste for survival. Dung provides both food and a place to raise their young. Among them are the famous rollers, the beetles that form dung into balls and roll them away. For these beetles, the smell of dung is irresistible. It's their greatest treasure. Desert dung beetles probably have the hardest lives of all. In the scorching desert, finding an animal is already difficult. Finding its dung can be even harder. Luckily, these beetles have an extremely sensitive sense of smell. They can detect dung from more than a mile away. So when an animal like a camel finally leaves behind a fresh pile, the race begins. Beetles arrive from all directions, guided by the scent. The ones that arrive first are lucky. Latecomers often face chaos. Sometimes there are more beetles than dung. They push, pull, and fight each other for a piece. If a beetle manages to form a ball, the struggle is far from over. The desert floor is mostly sand, which makes it difficult to bury the dung. So the beetle rolls the ball away, walking backward while pushing it with its hind legs, searching for a suitable place. The journey is dangerous. A slope can send the ball rolling away. The beetle might not be able to push it back uphill. The extreme heat can kill them if they take too long. Sometimes the beetle climbs on top of the ball just to escape the scorching sand. But that also makes them visible to predators like birds and lizards. And even if predators don't attack, another beetle might steal the ball. If everything goes well, the beetle finally digs a hole and stores the dung underground. And how long does that food last? Only a few days. Soon the smell of new dung reaches them from far away, and the entire exhausting process begins again. If pure anxiety could grow a tail, it would probably look like the Etruscan shrew. This tiny animal is the smallest mammal on Earth by weight. Because of its small size, it loses heat very quickly. To stay alive, its metabolism runs at an extreme speed. That means it needs a constant supply of energy. So the shrew hunts almost non-stop day and night. If it goes more than about 2 hours without food, it can literally die from lack of energy. Ironically, the shrew is almost blind. Its eyes can barely distinguish light from darkness. Instead, it relies on extremely sensitive whiskers that act like tiny sensors, helping it detect the shape of objects around it. The shrew eats insects, worms, snails, small lizards, basically anything smaller than itself. Its life follows a strict routine. Hunt for food, catch it, eat it, sometimes carry extra prey back to its burrow, sleep for about 20 minutes, and start hunting again. Every day, it consumes about twice its own body weight in food. Its heart beats over 25 times per second, and it breathes around 12 times every second. But when food becomes scarce or temperatures drop too low, the shrew has one emergency strategy: torpor. During torpor, its body slows down dramatically. The heart rate drops, breathing slows, and body temperature falls close to freezing. The animal becomes almost motionless. But this state is risky. If a predator finds the shrew while it's in torpor, it has almost no chance to escape. When it wakes up, its muscles begin to shiver rapidly to warm the body again. That process itself requires a lot of energy. If the shrew doesn't have enough stored energy, it might die while trying to wake up. And when a mother shrew has babies, life becomes even harder. The newborns cannot hunt. The mother must find food for herself and her young. If predators like snakes, owls, or lizards discover their nest, she must quickly move the entire family to a new burrow. The babies follow her in a strange little chain, each one biting the tail of the one in front, like a tiny living train. Within about a month, the young shrews grow up and begin building their own burrows. And the cycle continues. Deep in the ocean lives another unusual creature, the oarfish. This long, ribbon-like fish can grow up to 36 feet in length, making it the longest bony fish in the world. Some reports even suggest individuals reaching over 50 feet. With such an enormous body, you might expect it to be a powerful predator, but the reality is much less impressive. Oarfish often float vertically in the water, simply opening their mouths and waiting for small fish, plankton, or jellyfish to drift inside. Their eggs are tiny, about the size of a grain of rice, and millions of them float near the ocean surface. Most are quickly eaten. Only a small fraction hatch into larvae. Even after hatching, survival is unlikely. Around 95% of the larvae die before reaching the next stage of life. If they survive, young oarfish eventually descend into the deep ocean, hundreds of meters below the surface, where sunlight barely reaches. There they live alone, slowly growing larger while feeding on small fish, squid, and crustaceans. But they are poor swimmers. Ocean currents can sometimes push them upward toward the surface. And for a deep-sea fish, reaching the surface is often fatal. The sudden pressure change can rupture their organs. That's why most oarfish seen near the surface are already dying or dead. When it's time to reproduce, females release eggs somewhere in the ocean, while males release sperm somewhere else. If the two happen to meet, fertilization occurs. If not, the eggs simply become food for other marine animals. And the cycle begins again.